Welcome to Artificially Literate. This is the space where books, films, ideas, well, they all meet deep thought and boundless curiosity. Every time we explore some piece of literature, maybe a compelling story or even a cultural moment, we try to break down the philosophical, the literal meanings behind things that move us or challenge us. Things that make us look at the world just a little bit differently, whether you love stories or you're seeking meaning, or maybe you just enjoy a thoughtful takeaway. This is your space. It's for reflecting, learning, looking at the world differently. Today, we are diving deep, really deep, into a cultural phenomenon. I mean, something that sparked so many conversations, captivated millions. We are talking about Stephenie Meyer's Twilight. Okay, so to set the stage for our deep dive today, let's start right where the book starts, with a quote from the epigraph. It's a really powerful hint to the journey we're about to get into. But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. That's Genesis 2:17.
Wow. I mean, that immediately casts the story in this light of, forbidden knowledge, a choice with potentially fatal consequences, not just like a religious thing, right? It's a metaphor for that irreversible decision, the one that changes absolutely everything.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so potent, that quote. And then it's immediately paired with Bella's own thought right at the start. She thinks, I'd never given much thought to how I would die, though I'd had reason enough in the last few months. But even if I had, I would not have imagined it like this.
Wow.
So yeah, it's not just about fate. It instantly brings in these themes of destiny, choice, and that irresistible pull, that almost primal pull of the unknown. It speaks to something deeply human, doesn't it? That curiosity, that willingness to look into the abyss, even about our own mortality. What makes us pursue something knowing it might be dangerous just because it promises something? Extraordinary. So for you, the listener, this isn't just, a teenage romance. It's really an exploration of these huge existential choices and the often perilous paths we take when we face the truly unknown.
Exactly. And that phrase, not imagined it like this, that really hits home for me. It's about that moment, isn't it, when life just takes this irreversible turn. The veil lifts. And suddenly you step into a world you didn't even know could exist. And Bella, she doesn't just stumble into this forbidden knowledge. She seems to actively seek it out. She's drawn by this almost magnetic force. So we'll be looking at how this story, which seems kind of simple on the surface, actually delves into some complex ideas. Things like identity, belonging, the nature of desire, and that very human fascination with what's beyond our everyday lives, especially when it promises something amazing, even if, it comes with a huge price. Okay, so let's unpack this first part of Bella Swan's unexpected, really transformative journey.
The arrival, the outsider, and the unseen force.
Okay, so our story kicks off with 17-year-old Isabella Swan Bella, as she prefers making a massive life change. She moves from sunny, warm Phoenix, Arizona, all the way to perpetually overcast, damp Forks, Washington. She's going to live with her father, Charlie. And this isn't just like moving house. It's a complete immersion, a totally new, often isolating world that just feels completely alien to her. A huge shift in climate, culture, everything.
Yeah, and her initial thoughts, her observations, they're so crucial. They really set the mood for Forks, but also tell us a lot about her internal state. As a teenager, she immediately feels like the new girl from the big city, a curiosity, a freak. That's how she puts it. Forks is this place where, everyone knows everyone. She says, all of the kids here had grown up together. Their grandparents had been toddlers together. Bella doesn't fit that, tan, sporty, blonde Phoenix image, and she definitely doesn't fit into Forks' deep-rooted social fabric. So right away, she's positioned as the outsider. And that's such a powerful theme, isn't it? So relatable. I mean, how often do we feel like that? Navigating new places, existing networks, just trying to find our spot and feeling alienated. Her discomfort is almost like another character in the story.
Right. And it's not just her feeling out of place, even her truck. The old faded red Chevy truck Charlie gets her, he's so proud, calls it a homecoming gift. It becomes this anchor for her, almost a character itself. At first she's suspicious, calls it the thing, kind of dismissive, right? But then she says to her intense surprise, I loved it. She describes it as one of those solid iron affairs that never gets damaged. The kind you see at the scene of an accident, paint unscratched, surrounded by the pieces of the foreign car it had destroyed. Wow. So it's not just a truck, it represents this sturdy, unpretentious survival, a reliable anchor in this unfamiliar place. And it's such a contrast, isn't it? To the polished, almost perfect, ethereal world she's about to encounter with the Cullens. It hints at her own quiet resilience.
That's a fantastic point about the truck. It really does become her sanctuary, her safe space. She calls it the closest thing to home I had in this damp green hole. And that search for safety, for belonging, finding it in unexpected places or objects, it resonates so deeply with that human need for security when everything's changing. And forest itself, the way she describes it, there's a sense of claustrophobia, right? The constant dampness. And the sky, she says, it's like a cage. That really highlights her initial feeling of being trapped, geographically, emotionally, both. It paints this vivid picture of someone totally out of her element, sets the stage perfectly for the extraordinary things that are about to challenge her whole idea of normal. It almost foreshadows how she'll feel caged later by her understanding of the supernatural world.
So Bella walks in at Forks High. She notes the number of students. A frightening total of only 357, now 58 students. Such a stark difference from her big Phoenix school. Almost suffocating. And instantly, she's a curiosity. Everyone's watching, whispering the new girl. But the real shift, the moment that cracks her ordinary world wide open, that comes at lunch. When she first sees the Cullen family, this is where things really start to change.
Oh, definitely. And her description of them is just incredibly vivid. It's full of these stark contradictions that pull you right into her fascination, her confusion. She notes they're chalky pale, even paler than me, the albino. They have very dark eyes and these purplish, bruise-like shadows under them, like they haven't slept, or maybe, she thinks, almost done recovering from a broken nose. But despite all that unsettling stuff, they are devastatingly, inhumanly beautiful, like faces from a fashion magazine, airbrushed, or, she says, beautifully painted by an old master as the face of an angel. This clash, right? The uncanny and the beautiful, side by side, it creates this irresistible pull. For Bella, and for us reading it, it just messes with your perception of beauty, of normalcy. Makes you try to hold two opposite ideas at once.
And what's really fascinating, beyond just how they look individually, is how they seem exactly alike, even though they have different features. You've got Emmett, who's muscular, Jasper's lean, Alice is like a pixie, Rosalie is statuesque, and then there's Edward, with the bronze hair. And their isolation, it's intense. Jessica, this girl she meets, explains they don't like anybody. They don't notice anybody enough to like them. But then she adds, but he's still staring at you. Talking about Edward. So they're outsiders too, but it seems like it's by choice, or maybe necessity, which is totally different from Bella, who feels like an outsider against her will. It makes you wonder immediately, why? Why do these perfect-looking beings choose to be so separate? And what does their chosen isolation say about Bella's own feelings of being different?
That's a really key distinction. It highlights the irony, doesn't it? They try to seem normal by keeping apart from humans, but their perfection, their beauty, their whole lifestyle makes them profoundly abnormal. Their isolation isn't just preference, it's a shield. A burden of being exceptional, something they've maintained for, well, decades, centuries even. Which brings up a question for us, for you listening. When you encounter something or someone that different, what's the instinct? Do you lean in out of fascination? Right. Or pull back because of fear? Bella's reaction is complex, it's both. But you can see the fascination winning out pretty quickly. The Cullens are this complete enigma in this small town, a paradox of beauty and detachment. They're a mystery hinting at a hidden world, inviting Bella and us to look deeper, to question what's normal. It's a really compelling twist on the usual outcast story.
But the real turning point, the moment that just shatters Bella's ordinary world completely, that happens in biology class. She ends up sitting next to Edward Cullen. And his first reaction to her, it's intense, almost violent, visceral. She describes him as hostile, furious. His eyes are black, she says, full of revulsion. It's this instant, powerful, totally unexplained negative reaction just to her being there, like she's toxic waste, not a person.
It's deeply unsettling, isn't it? This profound, irrational aversion coming from someone so captivating. It's primal. A dislike Bella just cannot understand. Her thought, it was impossible that this stranger could take such a sudden, intense dislike to me, captures that perfectly. Her total bewilderment. It challenges all our usual assumptions about how people connect or don't connect. Sometimes reactions just defy logic, leaving you baffled, and in Bella's case, deeply hurt. It's a brutal introduction to a world where emotions seem to run much deeper, much more violently than she's ever known. A world maybe governed by unseen forces, by instincts.
And then comes the accident, the event that completely defies physics, logic, everything. Tyler Crowley's van skids on the ice. It's heading right for Bella, about to crush her against her truck. And Edward, somehow, impossibly fast and strong, he pushes the van away with his bare hands, leaves a big dent in it. Bella sees him move fast enough to intercept the van. Tyler, the driver, he sees nothing, just thinks it was a miracle or something. But Bella sees the impossible detail, the thing that chills her. She notes, he didn't hit you. He was standing too far away. He was by my car. What her eyes saw completely contradicts logic. the laws of nature as she knows them.
Right. And that event, more than anything else, it just shatters Bella's reality. It pulls her right into the unknown, makes her have to eat from that metaphorical tree of knowledge.
Huh?
And Edward's denial afterward, his coldness. When he snaps, "I saved your life, I don't know you anything." That just makes the mystery deeper, makes him even more enigmatic. It forces Bella, and us along with her, to face the limits of our own perception, to question what we think is possible. His anger, his refusal to explain, combined with this incredible, undeniable act, it leaves Bella, as she says, consumed by the mystery Edward presented, and more than a little obsessed by Edward himself. It's that aha moment, maybe more like an oh my God moment, that totally redefines the stakes of her new life. It pushes her to seek answers in a world she never knew existed, a world of forbidden truths she just can't ignore anymore. It's terrifying, but also you can feel the thrill of it for her, stepping beyond the known.
Whispers of the supernatural and the unbreakable bond.
Okay, so as Bella's journey unfolds, her fascination with Edward just keeps growing. But his behavior, it's still this confusing mix, hot and cold. He pushes her away, then pulls her closer. One minute he seems disgusted, the next he's curious almost, sympathetic. His eyes hold this unreadable depth, its unpredictability. It's a huge part of his allure, right? And it's the central puzzle for Bella. It keeps her totally off balance, but also completely drawn in. What does this back and forth tell us about his internal struggle?
Well, that unpredictability is his internal war made visible, isn't it? It's his conscious effort to control his deepest instincts, clashing head-on with this involuntary pull towards Bella, and his admission, the fact that he cannot read Bella's mind. That's such a critical piece of information, especially given his other abilities. He finds her very difficult to read. He even says later it's annoying to have to stoop to that, meaning reading Jessica's mind to figure out what Bella's thinking. I mean, think about it. In a world where everyone else's thoughts are like an open book to him, Bella's mind is this unique shield, a total mystery. And paradoxically, that's what draws him closer. It suggests there's something about her, some strength or individuality that he's never encountered before in his, well, long life. Imagine, for you listening, meeting someone whose inner world is just completely opaque, defines all your assumptions. Wouldn't it make them endlessly fascinating just because they're unknowable?
It's a really interesting twist, because even though he can't read her thoughts, remember that conversation in biology about her past. He guesses all the details about her life situation correctly, makes her feel like an open book on the surface, but then he insists, "On the contrary, I find you very difficult to read." That contrast is so fascinating. He sees the external facts, her history, but he can't get inside her head, figure out her intentions. And his curiosity about her normal life, asking why she came to Forks, saying her dull life story was somehow vitally important to him. It clearly shows he's getting more interested, despite claiming to be repulsed, and despite how mundane her life seems compared to his. He's captivated because she's opaque. It's the one thing he can't just instantly know or control.
Exactly. And that dynamic, it creates this really powerful sense of intimacy, but also intrigue. Bella's inability to be fully known by Edward, who can basically read everyone else, it makes her truly exceptional in his world. It's not just a plot device. It speaks to that very human desire to be seen and understood, but also the appeal of having a private inner self. Especially when you're facing someone who could, well, literally consume you, in his case. It underlies the idea that a real connection can happen even with these huge differences, even facing what seems like an impossible barrier. It speaks to Bella's unique nature.
Then there's the trip to Port Angeles. They go dress shopping. Sounds normal enough, but it provides this crucial escalation, a reminder that danger isn't just supernatural. Bella gets separated from her friends, and she finds herself in real trouble. She's being herded, cornered by these sketchy guys. It's a terrifying moment of vulnerability. And this threat, it's very human.
Yes, and it's precisely that human threat that triggers Edward's most dramatic display of his non-human side so far. His sudden appearance, she says, he materialized out of the dark, almost instantly, and his intervention. It's violent. He doesn't just scare them off. He uses supernatural speed, intimidation. It's chilling. And it reveals the depth of his protective instincts, which are, let's be honest, both terrifying and undeniably attractive in that moment. He admits later he has a temper problem, confesses that it wouldn't be helpful for me to turn around and hunt down those men. You feel the raw power he's holding back constantly. This whole event, it cements Bella's trust, her attachment to him, even while it confirms just how dangerous he is. It really forces us to think about that line, that sometimes blurry line, between being a protector and being possessive, and the complex feelings that come up when someone risks everything for you, even if their methods are extreme, maybe even a little too controlling.
That's a really good point, the protector versus possessor thing. Does his intense protection, while obviously saving her life here, also kind of limit her ability to handle things herself? Or is it just the reality of his world bleeding into hers, and that car ride after when he makes her prattle about something unimportant until I calm down? That's so telling. He's clearly furious, totally on edge, but he's desperately trying to control it for her sake, to starve himself from doing something worse. And then the detail about Debussy's Claire de Lune playing in his car, it adds this unexpected layer. Refinement, sensitivity to this dangerous guy, hints at this hidden depth, this sophisticated inner life beneath the controlled ferocity. It's a moment of strange, fragile beauty after the violence.
That combination is exactly what makes Edward so compelling, so enigmatic, right? That raw, barely contained power and fury, side by side with this cultured sensitivity. It shows his existence isn't just monstrous, it's incredibly complex. It's a constant internal fight, a conscious daily choice to hold on to some form of humanity, or at least morality. And for you, the listener, it makes you think about how easily we categorize people, how often one small detail, like a piece of music, can challenge our whole perception. This whole incident is pivotal. It shifts Bella's fear into something deeper, more complicated. An attachment, a love that knows and accepts the danger is real.
So Edward is still being mysterious, only hinting at what he is. But then Jacob Black enters the picture. He's a Kilut kid from La Push down by the reservation, and he gives Bella this crucial piece of the puzzle. He tells her local legends, stories about the Cold Ones, vampires, and their natural enemies, the werewolves, though he calls them wolves that turn into men. This is the first real, tangible explanation for all the weirdness around Edward. It moves from just suspicion to actual folklore.
Absolutely. And introducing this parallel mythology from the Kilu tribe's own traditions, it adds such a rich layer to the whole story. It grounds the fantasy in a specific ancient cultural context. Jacob describes the Cold Ones as beautiful, fast, strong, with pale skin and eyes that shift color. I mean, that lines up almost perfectly with what Bella's seen in the Cullens. He also mentions they're immortal and they drink blood. It's practically a checklist for what Bella's been observing. This is the first solid suggestion of what Edward might be. It validates her impossible theories, gives her a framework to maybe understand the inexplicable. And for us listening, it really highlights the power of myth, doesn't it? How ancient stories, passed down for generations, often try to explain the unexplainable, categorize the unknown within a community's understanding of the world. It bridges that gap between old legends and a very frightening present reality for Bella.
And Bella, being the curious person she is, the learner type we like to talk about here, she doesn't just take Jacob's word for it. She immediately hits the internet, our modern source of all knowledge, right? To research vampires. She wants to connect Jacob's stories to broader folklore, and she finds a lot of silly myths, stuff that clearly doesn't fit Edward, like vampires turning to dust in the sun, which just reinforces that the Cullens are unique somehow. Their reality is different, not just a copy of old stories.
What's really fascinating there is how she filters the information, her selective attention. She's not just passively soaking it up, she's actively sorting through it, comparing it to her own experience. She dismisses most of the common stuff, like bodiless spirits or beautiful women as demons, because it just doesn't match Edward or his family. But then 3 entries grab her. They pull her deeper down that rabbit hole. There's the Romanian Varicology. A powerful undead could look like a beautiful pale human. Okay, check. The Slovak Nalapsi, super strong, super fast, could wipe out a village in an hour. Okay, extreme strength, check. And then crucially, the Stragoni Benefici, an Italian vampire supposedly on the side of goodness, an immortal enemy of evil vampires. This last one becomes this vital thread of hope for her, a lifeline. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, Edward's path isn't automatically evil, even if he is a vampire. It speaks to that deep human desire we have to find goodness, to hope for redemption, even in the darkest myths, even in what seems monstrous. It's like her intellectual permission slip to keep pursuing her emotional connection.
Okay, before we get into the really thrilling conclusion of Bella's first few months in Forks where her world gets completely turned upside down, we want to give you a quick reminder. If you're enjoying this deep dive, please follow Artificially Literate wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, basically everywhere. Hit that follow button so you don't miss our future explorations.
Yeah, definitely do that. And maybe to close out this middle section, let's think about those intense words Edward says to Bella. She's trying to understand him, trying to label him, grasp what he is, and he just says, "It doesn't matter what you are, it's too late." Wow, that quote just perfectly captures the feeling, right? That powerful, almost fated connection they already have. It hints that some bonds just go beyond logic, beyond fear. It implies the emotional investment is already there no matter how dangerous the truth is. He's resigned to it, acknowledging that the choice, in a way, has already been made for both of them.
The revelation, the hunt, and the unconditional choice.
All right, so the real revelation. The moment Bella's deepest suspicions are confirmed, but in this totally breathtaking, unexpected way. It happens when they hike out to that secluded meadow. This is where Edward finally steps out of the shadows, literally, into direct sunlight. And it completely defies every single traditional vampire myth she'd ever heard.
Edward in the sunlight was shocking. That's how she describes it. His skin, white, literally sparkled, like thousands of tiny diamonds were embedded in the surface. I mean, that image is so iconic now, isn't it? It completely shatters the old myths about vampires burning up or turning to dust in the sun. It presents this entirely new, almost fantastical vision of what a vampire is. And he explains it patiently, the myths about burning, sleeping in coffins, just myths. He also tells her, I can't sleep. Never. Which adds another really profound layer to how alien he is, yet still captivating. Underscores how fundamentally different they are. It really makes you think, doesn't it? How much of what we believe about the other, about anything different, is based on distorted stories, on fear, maybe just incomplete information. Rather than actually experiencing it with an open mind, this sparkling thing, it fundamentally redefined vampires in pop culture, for better or worse.
Okay, and here's where it gets really intense and incredibly honest. Edward's confession about his initial reaction to Bella's scent. It's raw, almost agonizing for him to talk about. He admits, to me, it was like you were some kind of demon, summoned straight from my own personal hell to ruin me. He says, the fragrance coming off your skin. I thought it would make me deranged that first day. He talks about fighting 100 different ways to lure you from the room, and his arrogance, thinking he was strong enough to treat you like any other human. This isn't just casual talk. It reveals this monumental, constant internal battle he's fighting, the sheer willpower it takes for him to be near her. It makes his initial hostility totally understandable, but it also makes his growing affection seem even more profound.
Oh, profoundly so. Because that confession, it lays bare the immense self-control that Carlyle taught him, and the constant agonizing struggle of their vegetarian lifestyle. That's the term he uses, right, for not drinking human blood. He explains his family's choice, feeding on animals instead, calls it a penance. Carlyle adopted way back in the 17th century after rebelling against his own vampire nature. Think about Carlyle. 2 centuries of torturous effort to perfect self-control, to practice medicine, save human lives while fighting this overwhelming thirst every single day. That's a powerful statement about choosing morality over your inherent nature, which raises that huge philosophical question for us, right? Can we really transcend our base instincts, our biology, or are we just defined by them forever, destined to give in? The Cullens, especially Carlyle, they offer this compelling argument that yes, you can choose, but Edward's struggle shows the massive daily cost of that choice. It's like a testament to the idea that love, or maybe a chosen moral code, can conquer instinct, but not without huge suffering.
Then we have that scene with the baseball game during the thunderstorm. It seems almost idyllic for a moment. The Cullen family doing something sort of normal, well, normal for them, using the thunder to mask the superhuman sounds of their game. Clever. But that peaceful image is just shattered, violently, abruptly, by Alice's vision. She sees dangerous trackers coming. James, Victoria, and Laurent. That idyllic moment, that glimpse of their chosen normalcy, it just evaporates into immediate, terrifying danger. Shows how fragile their hidden world really is.
Yeah, that scene instantly throws us into the main conflict, highlights the incredibly precarious balance the Cullens are always trying to maintain. And James isn't just any bad guy. He's described as a tracker, with a brilliant mind and unparalleled senses. That makes him a seriously formidable, genuinely scary opponent. And Edward's reaction. Immediate, fierce protectiveness of Bella. It's primal. It underscores how deep his love for her has become, but also the huge existential danger her human presence now represents to his entire family, their secret existence. And the other Cullens' reactions, especially Rosalie, her furious glares at Bella that shows the internal family struggles, the high stakes of Bella being there, makes you question, is her presence worth this risk, this disruption to their carefully built peace? It really shows the ripple effect she's having.
And this situation is so urgent, it demands this immediate, desperate plan. The strategy is to lure James away. It involves Bella faking this dramatic, emotionally brutal breakup with her dad, Charlie, then leaving town with Alice and Jasper while the rest of the Cullens try to deal with James. And Edward's final instructions to Bella, they're delivered with this agonizing tenderness, but also urgency. Don't listen to another word I say tonight.
right before she has to deliver this heartbreaking, cruel speech to Charlie. It reveals the immense sacrifice, the deception needed to protect her. It's this calculated, deeply painful act, designed to make her seem unimportant to James, to sever her human ties, almost literally.
That whole elaborate deception, it highlights not just the immediate danger Bella's in, but also the extreme lengths the Cullens, and especially Edward, will go to shield her, and the emotional cost. Deceiving Charlie, Bella's own agony saying those harsh, false words. It underscores the profound price of love in the supernatural world. It makes you think, doesn't it? About the ethics of deceiving someone for their own protection. Is it ever okay to inflict that kind of temporary but deep emotional pain on someone you love for their safety? And what emotional burdens do we carry to keep people safe, even if it means hurting them in the short term? It's a heavy question about the moral complexities of love and sacrifice.
But despite all their careful planning, James, this cunning, relentless tracker, he anticipates Bella's move. He understands the deep human need to go somewhere familiar, somewhere safe, and he uses that right against her. He manipulates her into meeting him alone by threatening her mother, Renee. Uses her deepest loyalty against her. It's such a cruel twist. Traps her in Phoenix, the one place she thought she'd be safe.
And James using a video camera, planning to record Bella's death as a letter to Edward. That shows the sophisticated, chillingly cruel psychological warfare, his gloating, saying, "So you see, I'm hoping you're wrong about your boyfriend. Edward, isn't it?" It highlights the predator's real goal, to break Edward. Emotionally, psychologically, not just physically take Bella. This moment pushes Bella to her absolute limits. Physically, emotionally. Unimaginable pain, a broken leg, and that fire of the venom spreading through her. It's an extreme example of how far someone will go to protect the people they love, and the excruciating price of that protection, turning a familiar place into a death trap. It's like a literal taste of those fatal consequences from the Genesis quote, right? Eating that forbidden fruit.
And then Edward arrives, just in time, followed by his immediate desperate act of extracting the venom, literally sucking the poison from her bloodstream. It's pivotal, excruciating, filled with both horror and this strange, profound intimacy. And Carlisle's calm medical assessment, her blood tastes clean, I can taste the morphine, provides this stark, almost clinical contrast to Edward's tormented whisper, believing that I was going to kill you myself. It just reveals the constant, terrifying struggle of his existence, that razor-thin line he walks between being her savior and potentially her destroyer.
That scene really captures the core tension of their relationship, doesn't it? Edward's love for her and his vampire nature are completely tangled up. His very presence means both salvation and potential destruction for Bella. His fight to control his instincts, even while he's saving her, it's this powerful display of his chosen morality. The self-control Carlisle hammered into him. It leaves you thinking about the nature of sacrifice, the ultimate test of self-control when you're faced with your most potent desire, especially when giving in could be fatal to the person you love more than anything. It's the ultimate expression of that Genesis warning playing out right there in that moment.
So, in the hospital afterwards, Renee, Bella's mom, is making plans. She wants Bella back in Florida, away from Forks, away from Edward, trying to get her back to a normal life, protect her from whatever inexplicable dangers are there. And Edward's conversation with Bella then, it reveals his own agonizing conflict, torn between keeping her safe and mortal or staying with her in this dangerous immortal world.
He basically lays out the ultimate choice for her, doesn't he? Live a safe human life or embrace this dangerous immortal love. And his willingness to stay in Forks or even go somewhere like it, someplace where I couldn't hurt you anymore, just to be with her, even if she stays human. That shows remarkable self-control, profound love, and a deep understanding of the danger he represents. He confesses, "I don't seem to be strong enough to stay away from you, so I suppose that you'll get your way, whether it kills you or not." Well, that reflects this huge philosophical question for us, for the listeners. How much risk are we willing to take for love, for joy, for that unique connection that makes life feel worth living? Is happiness, even if it's perilous, worth the constant threat? It forces you to really examine your own values, safety versus fulfillment.
And the prom scene kind of wraps up this first part of their journey. It looks like a normal high school dance, but it's anything but. Edward's possessiveness with Tyler, the guy who thought Bella was his date. It's almost funny, but also incredibly firm. He says, "She'll be unavailable every night, as far as anyone besides myself is concerned." Okay then. It confirms their relationship status, unconventional as it is, stakes his claim very publicly. And Bella's unspoken desire, which is so clear, her wish for Edward to change her, to join him in immortality, That sets up all the future conflicts. It reveals the deeper desires simmering under the surface of their dangerous romance.
Yeah, and that yearning for transformation, it's not just about her being clumsy or having bad luck, which is how she sometimes frames it. It's deeper than that. It's about transcending mortality for this unconditional love, about shedding her human limits to finally be truly equal with the person she loves, to erase that fundamental difference that causes Edward so much pain and internal conflict. It's a really profound thought for you, the listener, to chew on. If you had the choice, would you trade your human life, your limitations, for an extraordinary, maybe dangerous, but eternal existence with the one you love? That question really pushes us to reflect on our own values about life, death, and what devotion truly means. It's her final, active decision, really, to eat from that tree knowing full well the consequences. And maybe the best way to end this deep dive into Twilight is with that quote from the book that just perfectly sums up Bella's position, her unwavering choice at this point. About 3 things I was absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. Second, there was part of him, and I didn't know how potent that part might be, that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him.
Well, thank you for joining us on this fascinating deep dive into Stephenie Meyer's Twilight here on Artificially Literate. We really hope this conversation gave you plenty to think about. From, the complexities of first love and dangerous attraction, all the way to those profound questions about human nature, destiny, and the choices we make when we face something truly extraordinary. If you enjoyed our exploration today, please be sure to check out our other deep dives. You can find them wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and hit that follow button. That way you won't miss our next discussion. We're always diving into another compelling book or film or cultural moment, and we'd love for you to join us. So stay tuned for our next literary adventure. And remember, as we always like to say here at Artificially Literate, feed your brain, starve your inner fool.